Have you always wanted to play a Furry Warrior, but maybe you want a little bit easier time actually playing the Furry Warrior with less key bindings and so on? Well, then this guide here might be for you. Using the single button assistant with the Furry Warrior and the right talents, you can actually still do pretty good damage. In this video here, I will talk about stats, talents, rotation, gameplay, on how you can actually play a Furry Warrior and still do a pretty decent damage. So, let's get to it. So when it comes to stats, what I always recommend is going with the highest upgrade level. So for example, here you can see I have a weapon which is upgrade level Adventure. So you have Adventure, Veteran, Champion, Hero, Myth. So what I always recommend is always go with the highest one. So in this case here, I have an Adventure, but if, for example, they dropped a Veteran or Champion weapon, I would always pick that, even what this secondary stats is. Of course, it has to be a strength weapon, but I don't care if it's a haste, or versatility, or crit weapon, because its upgrade level is going to give me so much more my main stat that it's most importantly. Then, in case I get a weapon which is exactly the same upgrade level as the one I already have, like an Adventure, or Hero, or Champion, then I'm going to look at the secondary stats, as you can see up here. First of all, we have haste. Haste is such a crucial thing for Furry Warriors. We are a class spec which uses a lot of instant abilities. That means we are using a lot of global cooldown. The global cooldown between each spell. So for example, every time you use a spell as a Furry Warrior, there's a 1.5 cooldown, 1.5 second cooldown between each of the spells, which is called global cooldown. Using the single button assistant, it increases it up to 1.8 because Blizzard don't want us to do the same damage as everyone else that plays the game. They want us to do a little bit less damage than people who use a perfect rotation. So that is why you can see here, it actually says here, it increases your global cooldown by 25%. So what haste is actually doing is that it actually reduces the global cooldown, which is both good for people who don't use the single button assistant, but also good for people who uses the single button assistant. So it reduces the global cooldown between each spells. Of course, it also increases the attack speed, which is going to give you more rage. So more attacks, more rage, less global cooldown. And also we have tons of spells which are getting reduced cooldown by haste. For example, here if you see, for example here we have execute. All the spells you have which has a green cooldown is actually spells that get less cooldown by having more haste. So again, like for example, if we go to the upper page here, you see Bloodthirst as well, also green cooldown. So all the spells you have with green cooldown gets lower cooldown the more haste you have. So again, haste is really great for Furry Warriors. Then we have Mastery. Mastery flat out increases your damage when you are enraged. But when you're going to use single button assistant, it's going to basically have you enraged all the time. I was testing it on a dummy earlier, and I am basically enraged all the time because the single button assistant will prioritize using abilities that actually make you enraged. So don't worry, you're going to be enraged all the time, and Mastery is going to increase all your damage, which is really, really good. Then we have Critical Strike. Critical Strike is giving all your spells a double chance to deal more damage, but we have tons of talents. You can see all the highlighted talents here, all has something to do with crit. And basically, we are getting so much bonus from crit. We're getting more crit damage, more crit chances, we're getting bleedings from crit, like we're getting so much love from crit. It still doesn't perform better than haste and mastery, but still crit is pretty good. Like it's not a bad stat. Then we have versatility. Versatility flat out increases your damage, and it also decreases the damage you take, which is of course very nice. You just have to remember something that I actually learned today. I didn't know this thing, and you're probably calling me noob now. But for example, I was like, why should I take Mastery when it increases my damage by enraging, when versatility is increasing my damage all the time? Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would I ever go Mastery or versatility? Because versatility also increases the damage you deal by like trinkets and stuff like that, where Mastery only increases the damage of your spells. So why should I actually even take Mastery over versatility? What I did not know is that Mastery is actually cheaper than versatility. For example, a scenario is like 50, like you can see here, like versatility, I have 393. An example is, for example, if you have 54 versatility, it will give you 1% more versatility, 1% more damage. But Mastery, Crit, and Haste cost less. Like each percentage cost actually less from gear to get more percentage-wise. So it says here mastery, for example, 44 is going to give you 1% more mastery. So you can see it's very much easier to get higher percentage mastery than it is by getting more percentage by versatility. And this is probably something all of you knows out there, but I didn't know this. I simply didn't know this was a thing. So I'm glad that I finally understand now. For example, see here. This one here is saying I have 400 versatility almost, and I only get 7% more damage. Where mastery, I have 250 and I get 19% more damage. So you can see mastery is giving me so much more percentage than versatility, which makes sense because else versatility would be the best stat in the entire game. But you know, still, I just didn't know this was a thing. So that's why I'm really want to tell you all now this. I hope all of you are watching my video, and you can see that versatility is just a more expensive stat, which explains why versatility is so very often in my video in the end of the stat. I didn't know this. But yeah, so this is the stat rotation. Let's go to the talents. When it comes to talents, it's quite simple actually, because we have two different builds. We have a dungeon build and a raid build. The dungeon one is also the one you should be using for leveling and delves. Both of these talents is on my Discord, so in case you want to actually get the export codes for these two talents, go to my Discord, link in the description, and it's also a great community called Lo-Fi Paladins. We have a guild, great social community to play World of Warcraft with, in case you want it. But also my talents is over there for all my 30 plus specs. So the main difference between the raid build and the dungeon build is that in the dungeon build we're using Mountain Fane, which has the highest AoE damage. Then in the raid build we're using Slayer, which has the highest single target damage. It is what it is. I wish we could play the same spec, but sadly Mountain Fane is just so much better in AoE and Slayer is so much better in single target. The only difference in the right side, which is like you could say the important part, is that in the dungeon build we're using improved Whirlwind, which is increasing your AoE damage by making your next single target spells AoE damage. Also increases the AoE damage of Whirlwind and Thunderclap, which is great. Also, we're using Avatar in the dungeon build because it has a huge synergy with the Mountain Fane, giving you additional charges of Thunder Blast and so on. So like Avatar is just like you have to have Avatar when you play Mountain Fane. Then in the raid build instead we're using different a couple of different spells, because the Slayer build is built all upon Bladestorm. So we're using, instead of Avatar, we're using Bladestorm, and also instead of having these two AoE abilities, we're using Enrage Regeneration, which is great for giving you self-sustain, like reduced damage and healing, which is great in raids, because it's nice to be able to help the healer keeping yourself up. And also we are using this one here, which is called Revenant Fury, which increases the damage of Raging Blow, and also give it the Raging Blow a chance to reset its own cooldown. So you can say that's the only really different, that in Slayer we are using for single target damage in the raid build, which is great with using the Bladestorm and also more single target survival ball. And then the dungeon build again is back to using AoE abilities and using Avatar. In the left side here, it's also almost identical, though in the dungeon build we are using points on Thunderclap and Crackling Thunder, because you have to kind of have Thunderclap to use Mountain Fane. Like, that's pretty much a must-have. So we're using 2 points on that, which in the raid build we don't have to. Also in the raid build we don't use Shockwave, because you don't really want to like stun the boss anyway. So in the raid build you can see here we have more like running faster, a bit more self-healing. We also have like a more auto-attack speed, and we also have the speed from Spounding Stride. But in both builds, no matter what, no one in the meta uses them, but most in the meta don't use Pain and Gain, and it's Second Wind. I love Second Wind. It is such a great spell. When you haven't taken, like if you haven't taken damage in 5 seconds, you start healing you 6% of your HP every second. 6%. It's insane. Like, you don't have to ever hold a break. Every time you have killed mobs, you get full heal in no time. Also, whenever you get below 35% HP, you're gonna keep healing 2% HP of your maximum life every second, which is insane. I feel like Second Wind is such a big, like, insane spell that so many people, they just ignore. But yeah, I use it in all my builds. I think it's the most amazing passive ever, so I use it in all my builds. Also, Pain and Gain is nice because every time you take damage, you heal 2% of your maximum life, but it only happens every 10 seconds. It's just like a nice little passive healing. So I personally love it a lot. But again, I don't want to go too deep into these builds here, but the raid build again is a very focused on single target, using the Slayer, and in the dungeon build we're using yeah, the Avatar, the Mountain Fane, which is the AoE build. So, but let's get to the rotation and let's talk about how that works. So talking about rotation, Fairy Warrior is probably, again, one of the easiest classes specs to play, even without single button assistant, but also with single button assistant, it's quite simple. As you can see, we have the single button assistant down here, and then we have 2 damage cooldowns, which you also need to use manually. These are not used automatically by the single button assistant, so you need to use them. You might be asking now, when should I actually be using them? And you should use them all the time, because they only have a 1.5 minute cooldown. But one thing that a lot of people forget is that we have this talent here. Every 20 rage you spend on attacks reduce the remaining cooldown on Avatar and Relentless by 1 second. So that means, no, they actually don't have a 1.5 minute cooldown. They have a way shorter cooldown. The cooldown is going to go so fast off these 2 spells here, which is both going to be there on for like almost 20 seconds. So you're going to have almost no downtime on these 2 cooldowns, which is why you should just keep using them all the time. Don't wait for burst phase, anything like, just pop them. And the cool thing is you can use them at the same time. You can just press 2 and 3 at the same time and it will use both of them. You could also make a macro where you just cast, like you could put them, both of these spells, you could put them easily into a macro where you use them at the same time. I personally prefer to have them on 2 different keys so I can actually see if they get ready at the same time. You could maybe have some times where you forget to press 3 and there's a little delay between them. So I just like to see both of them getting ready when they are ready. But you could definitely use a cool macro where you combine them both. But okay, so let me show you. So how I would do it is, of course, always have Battle Shout on. Battle Shout is a great spell that gives you 8% more attack power. I mean, that's a no-brainer. 8% attack power, insane. You might be saying now, well, it's only 5%. No, because we have this one here, which gives 3% more, which is insane. So what you were doing is you would start out by like using charge, since charge is going to give you 20 rage, which is great as a starter. So you'll be using charge, and in the second you are using charge and you're getting close to the targets, you will be pressing 2 and 3 at the same time. So like charge, 2 and 3, and now you're going to be spamming 1. And automatically the single button assistant is going to use the best rotation as it knows. And you're going to see here my enrage is up on, like, it should be like almost up like 100% of the time. Now we have a downtime and now it's up again. So the single button assistant should automatically try keep up your enrage all the time. Like you will almost see enrage up 100% of the time. And the single button assistant actually does that really, really, really great. So again, I use charge to get 20 rage. Then I spend both, I use Relentless and Avatar at the same time by pressing 2 and 3 at the same time. Boom. And then I literally just press 1. Spamming 1. What does spamming 1 do? So in case you don't know it, single button assistant is over here in the top of the right corner of your spellbook. You just drag and drop it down. Boom. And it uses Battle Shout in case you run out. It uses Bloodthirst, Execute, Heroic Throw, Odin's Fury. Usually Odin's Fury is actually a cooldown, but single button assistant uses it, so you don't have to worry about that one. Anyway, it's like a spell you always use in the opener. It's like an opener spell, so it's pretty good that it uses it anyway for us. Then we have Raging Blow, Rampage, Rend, Thunderclap, and Whirlwind. It's never going to use Rend really, because Thunderclap is like also doing like it also gives Rend to all targets. So usually you will never see Rend be used. Like it's very rare that it uses Rend, but it will mostly just use Thunderclap because Thunderclap also inflicts Rend on all the targets. But it requires that we have the talent Rend, so you cannot remove Rend because it's gonna not. Like you need Rend here to be able to actually get Rend on Thunderclap, just so in case you didn't know. But again, I mean, that's pretty much it. You 4, 2, 3 at the same time, and now you can see we're charging using the 2 cooldowns, and we're gonna spam 1, and it's gonna be. You can see the cooldowns on our 2 cooldowns are getting so much faster down. Like it's like look at the seconds. It just keeps going down, 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 down. Like it's. Your cooldowns are going to be ready in no time, and the single button assistant will automatically keep up your enrage like 95% of the time. Like you're going to have enrage on you for 95% of the time. Like there's going to be no downtime. It's, yeah. So it's fun. It's great using the single button system with Fury Warrior. It feels fun. It can also be a little bit, punishing because it gives us 25% less global cooldown. So if you play against another Fury Warrior who is really good and knows how to use his rotation or her rotation, you will probably see a little decrease between 10 and 25% lower damage than them. But if you're playing against someone who does know their rotation, or is a little bit slow, or maybe using like their mouse to click on spells slowly, you'll probably do more damage than them. So still, like, but again, like, that's the trade-off using the single button assistant. It's going to do a little bit less damage because it uses the spells slower. But in my opinion, it's worth it. It allows me to look at the ground and actually see if there's a fire, mechanic, or something I need to do, or help out my teams. Great. That's the rotation. When we go, like, just quickly before we finish how the first 3 spells works, in the raid build, it is almost the same as the dungeon build. The only difference we have here is, of course, the raid build is made for single target damage, so you don't have Thunderclap. Now you're actually going to use more Rend. But the only difference here is that you will be charging, using your cooldown, and now spamming 1. You don't have like the 2 cooldowns like the other ones have, because we have Bladestorm instead of Avatar. And Bladestorm, as you just saw, is actually inside the single button assistant. So Bladestorm, because normally I would just have Bladestorm down here, but Bladestorm is actually inside the single button assistant, so we don't have to worry about that one. That is why I am using then Enraged Regeneration down here, which is a super great spell for, like, it reduces all the damage taken by 30, and Bloodthirst restore an additionally 20% health for 8 seconds. So when you actually use it, now Bloodthirst is going to heal for a lot more. So for example, if you are in a situation where you need more healing, it's great for using, and now Bloodthirst will heal so much more. Like you can see there's 62k, which is quite good. In case you feel like the single button assistant, when you actually use this cooldown here, that it doesn't really want to use Bloodthirst, you could also like put it down here and make sure to use it manually whenever like you use this cooldown to really get big heals. Because the single button assistant doesn't really know when you cast this one here. It's not going to prioritize Bloodthirst over it. So maybe sometimes you want to like have it. But again, that's like a personal opinion, and you can do it or do not. That's up to you. But yeah, so let's talk about the other spells as we always do. So, talking about the other spells, you can see down here we have one, which was single button assistant. We have our 2 cooldowns. In the raid build, we only have Relentless and then the self-healing, reducing damage reduction one. And in the dungeon build, we have 2 damage cooldowns. Then we have a call of Charge. Charge helps you get to your enemy, and also it gives you 20 rage, which is great. Then we're going to talk about 4 very important spells: Pummel, Stormbolt, Wrecking Throw, and Shockwave. A lot of people have told me, hey Dvalin, could you focus a little bit more on interrupting, because it seems like a lot of people doesn't interrupt. So basically, when you are in a dungeon, for example, especially for mythic dungeons, it is so important to interrupt or stun. Imagine this mob here was casting a spell which hurts a lot. It could probably remove 50% of the HP of the tank. If it casts a spell, you can use Pummel here, which is a 14 second cooldown. And what it does is basically interrupts the target. So if it was casting a spell, it will stop casting the spell. In case Pummel is on cooldown and the mob starts casting a spell again, I can also use my Stormbolt, which is actually going to stun up to 3 targets. So now it's going to stun this one here, but also 2 others. It's not the same as an interrupt, but it still stops them from casting the moment they, start casting. Stunning can also help, for example, if you see the tank taking a lot of damage, it can also help the tank, like, getting a 2-second break, like, from actually taking damage, which is great. Then we also have Shockwave. Shockwave stuns everyone in front of you. So again, like if you see either this one here or all of these mobs casting a spell at the same time, then you have Shockwave to stun all of them in front of you. So we have Pummel, which is interrupting the single target in front of you. We have Stormbolt, which stuns the one you're targeting, plus 2 more. We have Shockwave, which stuns everyone in front of you. And then we have Wrecking Throw. A lot of people forget that what Wrecking Throw is doing. First of all, it deals tons of damage, 18k damage, which is actually more than most of our spells. Like, look at here, Bloodthirst is 14k, where Wrecking Throw is freaking 18k. But we don't use Wrecking Throw just as a damage spell. What we use Wrecking Throw for is actually this one here. So, Shattering Throw and Wrecking Throw silence non-players for 3 seconds. So a lot of people don't know this, but Wrecking Throw actually silenced the target now because of this talent here for 3 seconds. So it's an additionally interrupt/silencer. So we have Pommel as an interrupter, we have Stormbolt as a stun, we have Wrecking Throw as a silence, and we have Shockwave as a mass stun. So you basically have 4 spells as a Fury Warrior to interrupt your target. So if you have a mob that is very important that you need to like keep interrupted, you can literally put your Fury Warrior on this mob here and say, Fury Warrior, you make sure that that mob never casts a goddamn spell. And it will never, because you have 4 spells that you can keep using to interrupt the target, which is insane. So now, understand, Mythic Dungeons, very important, you interrupt and help with stunning and interrupting and stuff like that. Boom, capiche. Then we have one of my favorite spells, Impending Victory. Impending Victory is such an insane spell, especially leveling. Instantly attack the target, causing 1,500 damage, which is not a lot, but it's heal you for 30% of your maximum health. 30%, like, and it already has a 25-second cooldown. So the moment you use this one here, boom, 30% healing, which is insane. Then, every time you kill an enemy which is in the same leveling range as you know, it needs to have a yellow level, a green level, or red yellow, then it resets the cooldown of this one here, which means you can pull 10 mobs as a Fury Warrior. Every time you kill one of these mobs, it resets the cooldown of Impending Victory, and you can keep using it every time a mob dies in your leveling range. It keeps resetting it. A lot of people forget this one here because you can actually take a lot of mobs at the same time as a Fury Warrior, as long as you keep using Impending Victory every time you take down a mob. So it's an insane spell. Also, this is only for the Mountain Fane. The Slayer doesn't have this one here. But at the Mountain Fane, when you're inside the leveling build, the elf build, and dungeon build, we have this one here. Stamina increased by 5. Also, Impending Victory increase your maximum health by 10% for 5 seconds. When this health increase expires, you heal for any amount of the original Impending Victory that heal you in excess of your full health. So it increases your stamina, it gives you more maximum health, and it heals you for additionally, which is quite nice. If you don't like this one here, you can also take this one here, which is just going to reduce all damage you take by 2%, but I just love this one here. It's really nice. So again, great self-heal spell, and if you use it right, it can be super powerful. Then we have Hamstring. Hamstring just makes the target move 50% slower. Like if you have to like stop them off from chasing your healer, you can use Hamstring, and now for 15 seconds, it runs slow. Then we have Spell Reflection. If a mob is casting a spell on you, you can use Spell Reflection and it will shoot the spell back to them. Quite powerful. Then we have Berserk and Rage. Go Berserk, removing and granting immunity to fear, sap, and some incapacitate effects. So for example, imagine the boss is fearing you or sapping you, then you can use Berserk and Rage, and it basically makes you immune for sapping, fearing, or incapacitating for 6 seconds. It's a great spell getting out of fear, like boom, and you can even use it while you are feared, which is great. Then we have the Rallying Cry. It increases gives you 12% temporary maximum health for 13 seconds, and health granted increased by 50 when not in a raid. So I mean, when I use this one here, it should technically give me like 24% HP, so boom. And now we all have like 24% HP when in a dungeon, or 12% when it's in a raid. But it just gives everyone more HP. So if you see everyone is about to get a lot of more damage or take a lot of damage, you can use this one here to help out the healer and basically increase the HP of everyone. Then we have Heroic Leap, a spell that makes you like jump from a location to another location. And in the raid build, we also use this one here, which reduces the cooldown and make you faster after have used it. Then of course we have Battle Shout, very important you keep using it, since it gives you 8% more attack power and everyone else 5% more. Then, if you play with Second Wind, which I have in all my builds, you don't have to think about like healing, because every time you finish combat, you will also heal back to full HP in no time, because Second Wind is going to heal you. In case you don't use Second Wind, or you just want some more self-healing, we have a spell called Recuperate. Recuperate is a spell that every single class in the game has, but a lot of people don't know they actually have this spell. But this spell here is basically healing you for 50% of your HP over 10 seconds. So the moment you leave combat, you can use the spell here very fast, recuperate, and it will heal you 50% of your HP over 10 seconds. It's insane, and the moment you leave combat, you can very quickly cast it. If you know a very big mob is about to get close to you, use it and heal. I know a lot of people are saying, why are you even mentioning this spell? But I still think it's such a great spell, and I'm going to mention it from now on and forever. Because I never see anyone use it. So I kind of want to like make people aware that this is actually a spell that you can use. But yeah, so that's basically all the spells. Let's now try go into a dungeon, and I would show you how I would, play this spec. So let's help the tank a little bit here and do some pulling for them. I know usually the tanks will hate that, but I mean, we're going to help the tank a little bit. Now I'm going to use both my cooldowns, and I'm going to spam 1. Automatically, the single button system will know that we are doing multiple target damage, so it's going to like prioritize, using like Whirlwind, Thunderclap, like all the good AoE abilities. So we actually just going to keep pressing 1 after using our cooldowns, and automatically down here, you will see that I will be doing quite okay damage. Burst-wise, AoE-wise, I know some of my other videos, like the other specs I did, had a little bit higher burst DPS, but the Fury Warrior is still doing pretty good sustainable damage, like all the time. Some of the other specs, they have like very high AoE damage the first 30 seconds, but Fury Warrior is more like, it's a very like solid, sustainable spec that like keeps doing the same DPS over time. But actually works very nice. So for example, if you play Elemental Shaman, you will see the first 30 seconds you're going to do insane damage, like 100, 200k damage, where you have Fury Warrior, which is more like, just like a straight line keeps doing good damage, while Elemental Shaman is like boom, and then it goes down, 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 down in straight line. And also Fury Warrior has so low cooldown on its cooldown, because we have again this one here, but it's still great spec for like doing very sustainable damage, like no big spikes in the damage, but very, very like sustainable damage. Let's try to do another pull here. So let's help the tank one more time. The tank is a little bit slow, but that's all good. That's all good. Please take aggro. Now we're going to use both the cooldowns, and we're going to be spamming the single button assistant again. And very good again. Here you can see, again, we are topping the damage meter. I know it's a follower dungeon, but they should be scaling up to you, so they should like have the same stats as you, be as equal strong as you, to my understanding. But as you can see, they're still doing pretty fine damage. So again, yeah, if you're looking for a fun build to play, like a fun spec that really works well. I mean, you use your cooldowns, you spam your 1 single button. I'm pretty sure like Fury Warrior is going to be a spec that you are going to be having fun with. But now, of course, we don't have any cooldowns, so now we might be doing a little bit less damage, since we don't have Relentless and Avatar, which can spike up the damage for us. But I mean, it's okay, because we're going to have a little low phase now. But then already now you can see the cooldowns already. I'm not going to use them on this single mob here. I'm going to save them for the next pull. But yeah. All right, let's transition over to the boss fight. For the last boss, I thought it would be fun to go into the raid build, so you could just see that in action. It's going to be using Blade Storm. It's going to get all this extra attack procs from Slayer. And we're not going to have Avatar. We're only going to have like the Enrich and Restoration down here. So let's see how that looks. Let's go. I'm gonna use Relentless and spam 1. This is of course our single target talents, the raid build one. So it's more focused on direct single target damage, and it has all those passive procs that you get from the Slayer build. It also uses Blade Storm, but we're not in control of that one. We have to wait till the single button actually uses it. But I mean, it's going to use it whenever it's off cooldown, so we're good. Also, you will see a longer version, not a longer, but one that strikes more, because you have these procs here called Imminent Demise, which you're getting. I'm pretty sure those are from the Sudden Strike. You can see every time you have Sudden Strike, it gives you those stats. So next time it's now going to be using Blade Storm, it's going to be hitting 3 additionally times. But also damage-wise, we had like this, you can see here Slayer Strike is actually my third spell that deals the most damage here, which is the passive you get from the Slayer build, which is why it's such a good like spec for like single target damage, because it gives you all these extra additional these strikes. So like imagine every time you attack, you have a chance to like, you know, deal like an additionally extra attack, a quickly a dash attack, counter attack, which is why it deals quite nice single target damage. The elemental shaman here beated me though, but still you can see like we're getting damage from Blood Force, Rampage, and then this Slayer Strike here, which is quite nice. So yeah, solid raid build and also solid dungeon build. Of course, I know in a dungeon you're not allowed to like change spec in. I don't think in Mythic dungeons you can actually change spec before a boss, so normally you would of course use your dungeon build on the bosses, but I just wanted to like show you some data on using the raid build. So thank you so much for watching this video here. If you don't know me, I am Dvalin and I make videos about single button and a lot of different other guides for World of Warcraft. So this was the Fairy Warrior guide on how to use the single button assistant and doing like min-maxing with it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be doing way more content about the single button assistant. I know I've been a little bit offline recently, like doing a lot of other things besides these guides here, but I will start producing more guides shortly. But yeah, feel free to subscribe to the channel in case you want to have more single button guides coming up in your feed. And in case you want to support the channel even further, you can either subscribe to the channel or become a member on this YouTube channel. And your name will also be, you can see over there, it will be floating to show the support for each of you. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you to all my YouTube members for supporting what I do. And just, yeah, thank you all for being a part of this. And again, you will find all my talents on my Discord server. And it's also a really great World of Warcraft community in case you need more people to play with. So I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.